There's a thing that happens in that town, in that area, where the people that think outside of the norm say it in like whispered, hushed tone. You know, everybody's buttoned down like that and wants to control the world. There's something involved that's outlandish that they keep a secret. That's always been the case with secret society.
And the fact of the matter is, we watched this nigga get murdered right in front of our own face. And the nigga knew it was finna happen. He told us, and we didn't know. He named his last tour, "This Is It."
When we think about fame, it's all about the glitz and glam, right? The luxury, the fame, the money. It's like the ultimate dream. Being famous isn't all sunshine and rainbows. Celebrities are basically living under a microscope 24/7. Their every move is dissected and analyzed by the public, especially with social media making it easier than ever for fans to keep tabs on them. And let's not forget about the paparazzi, those relentless folks who'll do just about anything to get that perfect shot. And sure, while we might envy their glamorous lives from afar, there's a whole lot of pressure and scrutiny that comes with being in the spotlight. But here's where things get really interesting. Ever noticed how some of our favorite icons seem to meet tragic ends? I'm talking about those mysterious celebrity deaths that leave us scratching our heads. Well, rumor has it that there's more to these stories than meets the eye. Enter Joe Rogan, the guy who's not afraid to speak his mind. Word on the street is he's about to spill the beans on how Hollywood might be involved in some shady business when it comes to offing our beloved stars. So, who are these celebs that Hollywood supposedly has something to do with? Let's dive in. First on the list is Michael Jackson. On June 25th, 2009, the world got shook to its core as the news broke that Michael Jackson, the king of pop himself, had passed away at just 50 years old. But here's the thing, ever since that fateful day, there's been this lingering cloud of mystery hanging over his death. You know, the kind that sends shivers down your spine and leaves you questioning everything you thought you knew.
They planned to take my brother out, and my brother knew it, and that's why he told me repeatedly and repeatedly and repeatedly that this was going to happen to him.
Here's how it all went down. Michael's personal doc, Conrad Murray, found him unconscious after giving him some meds to help him catch some sleep. He jumps into action, starts CPR, and calls for backup. Murray's distress call to emergency services was swiftly followed by the arrival of paramedics who tirelessly worked to revive Jackson for an agonizing period of 42 minutes at his residence. Despite their relentless endeavors, the gravity of the situation became apparent as Jackson was transported to the hospital at 1:14 p.m. From there, medical professionals at the Ronald Reagan UCLA Medical Center engaged in a valiant battle to resuscitate him for over an hour. Tragically, their efforts proved futile, and Jackson was pronounced dead at 2:26 p.m. There were conflicting reports swirling around about Michael Jackson's health leading up to his untimely death. Some biographers painted a picture of a man struggling with various health issues, including insomnia, lupus, vitiligo, and low body weight. They even mentioned that his family was concerned about his well-being and had urged him to seek medical help. Additionally, there were mentions of past battles with prescription pain medication addiction, a fact confirmed by his dermatologist. However, there were also accounts from medical professionals who claimed that they had seen MJ just days before his passing, and he appeared to be in good shape both mentally and physically. And get this, members of his stage crew, who had been with him the day before his death during rehearsals, described him as healthy and full of energy. The rehearsals even went on until past midnight, and MJ spent time with fans afterward. It was only later that he began experiencing insomnia. In the early hours of June 25th, 2009, MJ reached out to Dr. Murray for help with his sleep issues. The doctor administered a mix of medications to help him doze off, including propofol, which MJ had used before for sleep. Despite multiple injections, he still couldn't drift off. By around 10:40 a.m., MJ was still wide awake, prompting Dr. Murray to give him propofol diluted with lidocaine. Following Michael Jackson's tragic passing, a detailed autopsy shed light on concerning findings that raised eyebrows among investigators. It was revealed that the iconic musician had been administered a cocktail of potent medications, including benzodiazepines such as midazolam and lorazepam, along with propofol, a powerful anesthetic. These substances, combined with additional doses of diazepam and Ativan, proved to be a fatal combination, underscoring the gravity of the situation. Despite the alarming presence of these substances in his system, the autopsy painted a picture of overall physical health for Jackson. Remarkably, his heart exhibited robust strength, with the only notable medical condition being a relatively inconsequential chronic inflammation in his lungs. Moreover, he maintained a healthy weight, and his pulmonary function appeared optimal, with arteries free from significant plaque buildup save for a minor accumulation in one leg. However, the autopsy findings took a sinister turn as the Los Angeles County Department of Medical Examiner Coroner released its ruling on August 28th. Jackson's death was classified as a homicide, attributed to a lethal combination of intoxication, notably involving propofol and lorazepam. Contributing to this fatal concoction were diazepam, midazolam, ephedrine, and lidocaine. Despite these revelations, the complete toxicology report remained confidential. Dr. Murray went to court on September 27, 2011. He was found guilty of involuntary manslaughter only 24 days later. His punishment was decided 5 days after he was found guilty. He was kept in jail without being allowed to pay money to leave before the trial. The jury had to think about many things before deciding if Dr. Murray was guilty. Dr. Murray said he was innocent and that he tried to help Jackson by doing CPR on him.
Your Honor, I am an innocent man. I therefore plead not guilty.
But other doctors said he did it wrong because he did it on Jackson's bed, not on a hard floor like he should have. Also, Dr. Murray only used one hand for CPR when doctors usually use two hands. He should have known this because he's a doctor. It's okay to use one hand for CPR on kids, but not on adults like Jackson. Another thing that made people angry was that Dr. Murray didn't call 911 when Jackson was in trouble. He said he didn't call because there was no phone in the house and he didn't know the address. But later they found out he made many calls on his phone during that time. He didn't tell anyone about these calls before. Dr. Murray stopped trying to save Jackson after only 10 minutes, but a security guard didn't call 911 until 12:21 p.m. By the time the ambulance came, Jackson didn't have a pulse. Dr. Murray said Jackson still had a pulse when the ambulance took him, but the ambulance people said Jackson's heart stopped working before they even got him to the hospital. In November 2011, Dr. Conrad was found guilty of involuntary manslaughter. He didn't have to stay with the other prisoners and was called a good prisoner by the sheriff's office. He was told to spend 4 years in jail, but he got out before that because he was good in jail. There were too many people in jail, so they let him out early. A lot of fans were very mad about this. Joe Jackson, who was Michael Jackson's father, said Dr. Murray was responsible for his son's death and tried to sue him for it in 2010. But he changed his mind and dropped the case in 2012. Then Michael's mother, Katherine Jackson, tried to sue the company Dr. Murray worked for, AEG Live, saying they were also responsible for his death. But she didn't win the case. Dr. Murray didn't want to be part of any of these court cases. Dr. Murray can't work as a doctor anymore because his licenses were taken away in the 3 states where he used to work. Lots of people were still angry and thought Dr. Murray should have been punished more. Some people made up lots of stories about what happened to Michael Jackson. One idea was that someone wanted to get rid of him on purpose and that Dr. Murray helped them do it. People asked why a doctor like him would give so many when he knows it's dangerous. They also wondered why he didn't tell the ambulance people and other doctors about the overdose so they could help Michael Jackson. Some people think that maybe Dr. Murray was promised he wouldn't get in big trouble if he helped. They said maybe he took the job for that reason. Other people think that maybe Dr. Murray was just blamed for Michael's death and it was really someone else's fault. They think these powerful people wanted Michael gone, and Dr. Murray was just a pawn in their plan. Secondly, we have Prince. He passed away 8 years ago, and it was a shocker that rocked the whole world. But the thing is, ever since his death, there's been this cloud of mystery hanging over what really happened. So we all remember the story that was fed to us. Prince, the legendary artist, left us at 57, found unresponsive in his Minnesota estate. The official word was it was an accidental fentanyl overdose, thanks to some counterfeit Vicodin laced with a seriously potent synthetic opioid. But let's be real, that left a lot of us with questions, and those questions are still hanging in the air. Now, we all know Prince was the poster child for clean living, right? Vegan, no booze abuse, a workout routine that probably put us all to shame, the whole shebang. So when the news hit that he died from a painkiller overdose, it was like, wait, what? Even the big shots in the industry like L.A. Reid were scratching their heads. In a chat on CBS, Louisiana Reid spills the beans that he believed Prince was all good in the health department. The guy was health conscious to the max, vegan lifestyle, no binges, and definitely not known for popping pills. But here's where it gets real odd. The interviewer asks L.A. Reid about Prince's health problems, and L.A. Reid's like, I don't know. He spills the tea on how Prince's commitment to staying healthy actually freaked him out. Like, if you're doing everything right, eating green, pumping iron, the whole deal, and still kick the bucket early.
Right. What I know is that he was really health conscious. He was a vegan. he didn't abuse alcohol. I didn't know of him abusing. You know, that also really concerned me because it made me think that, wow, so you mean you do all these things to take care of yourself and you die so young?
Now, there were whispers that Prince wasn't doing so hot in the weeks leading up to his departure. Canceled shows, emergency landings, and a dose of an anti-opiate. Things were clearly off. But here's the head scratcher. If he OD'd less than a month before, why wasn't he under the watchful eye of a doctor? The fact that Prince wasn't getting the medical TLC he needed is raising some eyebrows, especially when you consider the business side of things. If you're booking tour dates, you'd want to make sure the headliner is in top shape, right? No unexpected cancellations, especially at the big venues. It's like we're missing a crucial piece of the puzzle here, and the mystery of Prince's health just keeps getting weirder. Also, this Prince mystery is like a plot straight out of a thriller movie. So here's the thing. Prince was found in the same elevator he once called the devil. L.A. Reid spilled the spooky details on CBS, and it's enough to give you chills. L.A. Reid shared a bone-chilling story about Prince's take on elevators. Apparently, during a private moment, Prince dropped the bomb that the elevator is, well, the devil. L.A. Reid was spooked, and who wouldn't be? Now, fast forward to the day we all heard about Prince being found lifeless in an elevator.
One time when I was with him privately, he said, you know what the elevator is, right? No. I said, no, what's the elevator? He said, well, the elevator is the devil. And so for me, it was like really haunting when I read that he was found in an elevator.
But the oddities don't end there. People are scratching their heads about why Prince was alone at Paisley Park. Sure, the man was insanely private, but really? No servants, no security, no assistants. I mean, wouldn't you expect at least someone to be around, especially considering his status? And here's where it gets even more mind-boggling. There were whispers and predictions floating around that Prince was on a collision course with destiny. His last Instagram post, right before his untimely departure, had folks raising eyebrows. It featured a picture of him with a caption that said, "Just when you thought you were safe, now I get it." Prince had a knack for the cryptic, but this post had some folks thinking he knew something was up. Also, it turns out he might have predicted his own exit not once, but twice. At a party at Paisley Park just days before he left us, Prince reportedly dropped a major bomb on attendees saying, "Wait a few days before you waste any prayers." Now, if that's not a cryptic message, I don't know what is. But here's where it gets even spookier. There's this allegation floating around that Prince painted a target on his own back by diving into the controversial topic of chemtrails. In an interview, he spilled the beans about his childhood memories of seeing these trails in the sky. Cool, right? But then he takes a left turn, talking about how everyone in his neighborhood started fighting and arguing after these trails appeared. Now, for context, there's this long-standing theory about the government using jet trails to spread who knows what for population control. Prince talking about it on TV allegedly made some powerful people not too happy.
You know, when I was a kid, I used to see these trails in the sky all the time, and so oh, that's cool. A jet just went over. And then you started to see a whole bunch of them.
And if that's not enough, it gets even creepier. In an episode of The Simpsons titled Treehouse of they throw in a segment where Homer Simpson takes out a bunch of celebrities, including someone referred to as a purple one. Yeah, you guessed it. The unique shaped guitar seals the deal, and it's by order of the government. Now, whether it's coincidence or conspiracy, it's enough to give you goosebumps. Next up is Whitney Houston. Her unmistakable voice and career left a major impact on the music industry, which she exited suddenly and tragically. The singer, nicknamed The Voice, was known for a powerful vocal ability that earned her multiple accolades throughout her life and even after her death. However, her use and tumultuous personal life behind the limelight became just as well known as her music. However, several years after the world learned about the shocking death of Whitney Houston, there is still a lot of mystery surrounding what took place in her Beverly Hills hotel room on February 11, 2012. So much of what was in the coroner's report shocked her fans, like the fact that the powerhouse singer had mild emphysema and that she wore dentures. The latter is common with abusers, but more questions remain. A few of the unanswered questions her fans had long pondered included: who had supplied her the why had she taken them? Was someone else in the room with her? Was Houston? Some surprising details from the coroner's report that still have us scratching our heads are the cause of her death. The coroner's 42-page report concluded that the "I Will Always Love You" vocalist's death was attributed to accidental drowning, heart disease, and use. An open bottle of champagne along with a spoon containing what was described as a white crystal-like substance were found at the scene, and the toxicology report stated that traces of Xanax, Benadryl, the muscle relaxant Flexeril, and marijuana were in Houston's system. This was a shock to her sister-in-law, Pat Houston, and some of the star's other relatives because they believed that the pop diva was no longer using in her final days. "We are saddened to learn of the toxicology results, although we are glad to now have closure," the family said in a statement to the Associated Press. Another surprising detail listed in the report was that it noted there were items missing from Houston's room as well as her wallet. The decedent's California driver's license had been removed from the wallet, which was inside the purse prior to my arrival, the report read. Also prior to my arrival, the majority of the decedent's prescription medication bottles had been removed from a brown bag that was on top of the table in the southeast corner of the living room and then placed on top of that same table. Something else suspicious mentioned in the report was the fact that Houston had wounds on her face when she was found in the bathtub. Specifically, there were 2 superficial abrasions to the left side of her forehead, and there was a superficial abrasion to the left side of the bridge of her nose. Forensic pathologist Cyril Wecht explained that the water in the tub was so hot at 93.5 degrees that he doesn't think Houston was sitting in there but somehow fell in and accidentally drowned. "I think that she fell into this very hot water that accounts for a little bruise that was seen in the left forehead area, some other pressure markings on the face, including the slight laceration of the lip, and the fact that she is lying face down," he said. Also, her assistant insists there was foul play. Houston's assistant, Mary Jones, discovered the superstar in the tub around 3:30 p.m. local time. Jones recalled that she stepped out of the suite to pick out a dress option for Houston, and when she returned, the I Have Nothing artist was face down in the bathtub. Somebody was in the room with her, had given her these and had found her drowned in the bath, switched off the taps and left the room, Jones said. However, she has never been able to identify who that may have been. Houston's ex-husband, who she was married to from 1992 to 2007, does not believe played a role in how she died. "I don't think Whitney died from," he told Rolling Stone. "She was really working hard on herself to try to be a sober person. Instead, he thinks just being broken-hearted is what led to Houston's death." Next up is Bernie Mac, the legend himself. He was a successful stand-up comedian and actor who starred in his own sitcom, The Bernie Mac Show. He was also known for his roles in movies such as Ocean's 11 and Bad Santa.
He is one of the original stars of HBO's Def Jam. He has a recurring role on the hit sitcom.
Tragically, on August 9, 2008, loved ones, fans, and most of Hollywood mourned the untimely loss of comedic legend Bernie Mac, who passed away at the age of 50 due to complications from pneumonia. After fighting to breathe and being resuscitated twice, Mac succumbed at 2 a.m. at a hospital in his hometown of Chicago, with his wife of 30 years, Rhonda, and daughter Janice by his side. Mac was diagnosed with sarcoidosis, an inflammatory lung condition, in 1983. Though he was in remission, his condition and a new medication ultimately compromised his immune system, which led to infection. However, circumstances surrounding his death remain a mystery. Even though the 50-year-old entertainer died more than a decade ago, the pain of this loss lingers, partly because of the questions that have yet to be answered. Could Bernie Mac's death have been prevented? Was his death simply a tragedy? Or was proper care not provided? Was the ball dropped at the worst possible time? Did he get caught in the perfect storm of sickness and medical negligence? Is wrongful death to blame? His wife, Rhonda, filed a wrongful lawsuit in 2010 against Dr. Renee M. Earls, claiming that he failed to recognize her husband's signs of respiratory distress. Ms. McCullough alleges that Dr. Earls kept her husband at his clinic for several hours rather than having him transferred or admitted to the hospital, even after showing signs of respiratory failure. Dr. Earls has stated that he treated Bernie Mac on the day in question, and his patient appeared weak and had a fever in addition to a rash. After Mac conveyed to Dr. Earls that he had received an injection earlier that day for a cold, the defendant contacted the other treating physician only to find out that Mac had been diagnosed earlier that day with pneumonia in both lungs. Once he received this information, he then advised his patient to go to the hospital. Mac was purportedly kept in the defendant's clinic for 9 hours, according to the Chicago Sun-Times. Ms. McAuliffe's attorney asked the judge to dismiss the wrongful death lawsuit in a manner that will allow them to refile the case once some issues are cleared up. Further details weren't provided by Cannon Lambert, the representing attorney. The lawsuit was dropped in 2015. Lambert had a year to refile. Such actions were not taken. While the case may be over legally, doubts remain. Did Bernie Mac die because of negligence, or was there something more? Finally, we have Craig Mack. His passing at just 46 years old from heart failure on March 12, 2018, brought so much sadness to the rap world, as the Flava in Ya Ear legend was honorably recognized for kicking in the door for one of hip-hop's most historic record labels and helping spearhead the careers of MCs like the notorious B.I.G. and Busta Rhymes. But something peculiar happened when he decided to denounce all of his worldly belongings and move to South Carolina to be part of the Overcomer Ministry Church. Why? Well, before his he revealed that there was a disturbing threat made against him.
Praise the Lord.
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 In the interview with Primetime Music, posted by Vlad TV, Mac recalls the situation where a person he left unnamed prompted him to do another album. He agreed to the project and even gave the person a low price for it, he explained. They ended up getting the ball rolling, and Mac had already begun laying down tracks when the person told him that they'd unfortunately only be able to give him 1/3 of the money. Luckily for this individual, Mac said he had a personal interest vested in the music and wanted to keep going with the project, so he cut a deal. He'd be paid 1/3 of the agreed upon amount for now. Then the person could continue paying him as they went along, and presumably the last 1/3 upon finishing the album. Unfortunately, he still wasn't getting paid and decided to stop recording, a decision that led to a phone call from the undisclosed person. Mac said that the threatening phone call began with the individual claiming that Mac owed them an album. And I'm like, excuse my French, but I don't owe you SHT. You owe me money, he said. So if you can come up with the rest of this dough, we can come up with the rest of the album. No dough, no records, that's it.
And I'm like, excuse my French, but I don't owe you. You owe me money. You know what I'm saying? So if you can come up with the rest of this dough, then we can come up with the rest of the album. No dough, no records. That's it.
The person refused to oblige and instead said, "You know what kind of dude I am. You know what kind of muscle I got," the New York MC remembered. Mac had heard enough and told him to meet him at an unspecified studio at 7 p.m. He made sure to bring along one of his gunmen in case the situation went left as well. When Mac arrived with his armed muscle in tow, he realized he'd made a smart choice considering that he immediately felt they planned to do something to him. He reiterated his previous terms with the person, who seemingly still wasn't willing to budge in his demands after Mac admitted that there was some tension in the streets after their meeting. "I caught a couple of threats, you know, a couple of passers-by in the streets," he said. Mac was prepared to handle what needed to be handled, though, but had an unexpected change of heart one day as he was driving to pick his sister up with a gun in his lap. "And I'm sitting there and I'm talking to God like, Lord, I don't want to do this, but if it comes to getting ugly where somebody's going to be trying to me, I'm going to have to do something first or do something to prevent that from happening," he said. Mac prayed for guidance, then flipped on the radio to search for a specific hip-hop station. Suddenly, he said, he landed on one station and gospel music poured from the stereo, washing overwhelmingly moving emotions over him that broke him down into tears. He said he knew that it was God talking to him and profusely apologized for even having the thought of taking another life.
All this gospel music came on, and it was this song I've never heard before in my life ever. I knew that it was God talking to me.
Unfortunately, his newfound faith wasn't any better, because this controversial church has been branded an alleged cult by some, as it allegedly doesn't allow its members to leave its compound, and founder, Ralph Gordon Stair, 84, allegedly tells his followers to avoid doctors as well as seeking medical care. Media Takeout claims that Mac had diabetes and high blood pressure, and speculated that he may have followed church rules and not sought medical care. So, which of these icons' death do you think seemed the most suspicious? Drop your thoughts in the comments below and we'll catch you in the next video.